Hello and welcome to what's new in File Manager on Commander Personal and on Commander Pro. So last time that we did, so here is the URL if you want to download it. And last time I did a video was about version 4.12. So today we're gonna see version 4.15, 4.13, and 4.13. So about the last 3 months of progress in the File Manager. So let's start with the release of August. So it was about 2 months ago. And the first one is basically if the file cannot be read. So here the file can be read. So you see a status that is normal. But if for some uh, file system the file cannot be read, then you will see in the toolbar, in the status bar, sorry, the status error that will be shown. Then we'll go to image viewer. So let's take some image. Let's go by size, for example. So we have so an image. So now when I zoom, it's a bit faster. You have slightly less quality, but for a big image, you won't see it unless you zoom very a lot. But it's now about twice faster to zoom a big image. Then for listening to the resize, so for example, when I zoom here, you see the status bar here. The zoom is 100% at the bottom, and when I zoom, you see that zoom is the status bar is updated, and it was listening like twice to the zoom. So now this is fixed. Let me maybe close this one. And also when I close the window, like I just did, basically it doesn't need to continue to listen to the zooming because no zooming can happen anymore. And as when I'm zooming a very large image, so it was only 1 megabyte, but imagine you're zooming an image of 20 megapixels, that could take like 1 or 2 seconds, depending on your machine. Now it's doing it without blocking the user interface. Tree map, there was, let me show you quickly, replace with tree map. That's one of the, the tree map grip. So it's, you see it's just showing as a tree map like this, and then you can browse, and then you see by size and so on. And there was a lot of problem with directories that were empty or file with size 0, so this also has been fixed. Let me replace it again with a normal directory panel. Action, the calendar. So the calendar is something that you have when you click here on the current time. Here. So the text was using the default text, but here you see with this background, then you could have like gray on gray. So now the month is display, and also the text here is displayed in black, so that you have a more readable text on a dark look and feel. Let's see. Yes, so you have some, when you don't have any selections, then there's some actions that are disabled, like I don't have any file selected, so I cannot copy or move any files. When I select a file, you see this icon are now enabled, and it was listening multiple times to it. So this is also fixed. And because also every time you were selecting something, then it was also calling all the action to enable it. But when you add more selection, basically it doesn't change the state of the icon. So now it's just listen, is there acceleration, yes or no, instead of each selected files. Now you have a better reporting if a file action has been cancelled in the logs. So like I mentioned, zoom image done without blocking. Fix the possible error due to not define when, so sometimes, oops, sorry, I meant to do this. So sometime basically when I was enabling and disabling action like here, you see that it's enable sometimes some action, sometimes it disables them, and there was like what's called a race condition. Sometimes you could throw an error for some actions. So when you do a dual action is like, for example, here copy or move. It was also reloading the tab, but here we knew exactly which two tabs to reload, so no need to do this. And we change the file action to listen if files are selected. That's also what I mentioned. Files do not ask for reload if file time is higher than the current time. Sometimes you may have a file with a time which is in the future and was causing some problem to always ask from, hey, do you want to reload this one, and so on. So now it's only check if the time has changed. FTP, if you're using FTP, it was not setting the date of the to the same date of the file. So now it's changed, and when you FTP a file, it will also copy the date time of the file. Now we also cache when you in read-only, if the directory, for example, is read-only. For example, otherwise every time you come back, and for some action it was called quite a lot. So that's going to be faster to navigate directories and do file operations. We also improve the detection. So when you lose the focus and you come back in the window, basically I do a small check of the directory. If anything has changed, then I reload the directory, and this is now faster. Same thing when you're sorting files by name, it's also now faster. So basically, and you see that I have, like, for example, here is a Git branch of this library, and basically I don't need to do any Git check when you're, for example, in a non-local file, like for example, a zip file or maybe a FTP file and so on. So check, do not check for Git tracking. Yeah, so same thing, we overall so this one I talk, but also when you start up or do a file operation, if there's no Git involved, no need to load the JGit library, because it can take probably like a few hundred milliseconds, probably up to 1 second, and that's not needed. Now we show errors if the location is not defined. Oh yeah, so sometimes you would have like no directory, and then if you did reload, then basically it would throw an error. So now it's if there's no directory defined, for example, for the directory table for some problems, then you won't need to be able to do a reload. Then same thing for dual actions. So basically and same thing, no need after do not using after closing a dialog window. So let me show you what I mean by this. So basically what was happening is that when you copy, there's no need to, like I said, to lazy reload. And if I copy again, then you see I have windows appearing. It says, oh yeah, do you want to replace? So let's say ignore, for example, in this case, skip. And then it was closing the window. So then this one was getting the focus back again. So it was reloading the directory. And because you were doing also a file action, then it was also at the same time reloading twice again the directory. So now this is no longer the case. It's much smarter to reload the directory when it's needed. And also, if you do a special operation on a file, I don't know, maybe I can do, like, for example, empty file content. So now the file content is 0 bytes. And so it knows it's no longer need to cache the size of the file because it was doing a file operation on this file. So I also remove the cache of different files. Let's remove this one because we need to be here. And then again, various bug fixes, improvement, and also in the application framework. So that was for the release 4.13. So now let's move to the release of September 4.14. So directory trees, let me show you maybe a tree here. Base panel, directory tree. So here is a tree. It was a possible error when comparing directories. Let's go back to the directory table. So yeah, so directory table, if you go to search, let me put only files. Oops, sorry. And it's files. So you see sometimes the files are going way longer. Let's go outside the .git directory. So you see, and so basically what you have is a tooltip showing for this. And first it was only based on the length of the file name, but you see now it's based on the path. So if you have a small file, but a larger path, more than 35, so I probably have to go like this. So you see it's just the file is just a license, but because the path is very long, then it will show the tooltip. And not based on the file length, but on the path length. So the tree map that I've just shown, there was some problem, like I said, with empty files and directory, and I fixed a bit more. And there was also some problem with when there was some link inside the part, so also fixed. Let me remove this. Yeah, so there's a new action that's called repeat last action. So let's say, for example, I have I want to see the size. So the size of these directories, and I do this action file infos, and then it shows me the size. And I close, but I say, oh yeah, now I want to do the file of another directories, and I would go here, and I would go again to show file start, and so on. So now you have it's called repeat like action. So of course you can do it here, repeat select action, that will show again this part, but you also control F9. So now I want to do this directory or even more directory. I just have to do control F9, and then it will repeat my last action and so on. So it's practical when you want to do actions on multiple files, or suddenly you want to repeat the same action. Copy names with options. So let me show you what I meant. So let's go back. Up. Let's do copy the copy names with options. So this one has been refactored a bit. So what was you have now the relative tree, relative name. Full path include extension, so you already had, but it's also now remember the part also that the settings, so that you don't come back again to check the same thing. So it will also remember with you, and now you have added the relative tree option to it. So that's it. So just practice with it, you will see. Also replace panel. So this part replace panel is now also use the correct place to replace. So because before I think what's with replace, if you use if your panel was not selectable panel, then it would replace the other one, which was not the correct one. And if you had, for example, you had a directory selected, but I wanted to replace this panel, I should not use my selection, but I should use the location of this panel. What about, so now files in the version 4.14. So make sure the file is copying before deleting when moving files. So hopefully it was throwing an error, but there's an extra check with it. When you open a file, so like for example, double clicking a file, if it's a desktop file on a Linux system, then it will try to open the program and not to open the .desktop file, which is a text file indicating where to open. So a desktop is like a link to a program on Linux. When you had file with a plus character and you were copying them, it was transforming the plus to a space. So this is fixed. On Windows, basically, you have, if you go to the user directory, you have things like my documents, my image, and the links are a bit different than on Linux or macOS. So now this is handled correctly. Linux and macOS can have files containing a backslash in the name. So now this is also handled correctly and not throwing any error anymore. You may also have in your file system files that where you cannot read even the date of the file. So now I'm just returning 0, and you will see this gonna show like an empty date instead of throwing errors. And also, for example, here if I'm searching for subdirectory, it's possible that in the subdirectory you have a link that link backs, for example, to the parent directory. So basically you come in a loop, and basically if I was showing like the tree map like I shown before, or if I was searching for a file, it would just go indefinitely because basically you're looping into the same directories. So now this is a better detection of a recursive directory when searching or when doing things where you go through subdirectories. And if I go on, let's say on Linux, let's say, so here is a file on Linux. Now you see the icons on Linux. If there's a link, I've just also display a small arrow on it, so you can immediately recognize what are links and what are real files or folders. Another things, do not face the class is not found, and that would happen only if you would migrate from on Commander Pro to on Commander Personal and you were using like one of the panels that does not exist in on Commander Personal. So you would get an error starting on Commander Personal because you could not open this specific panel. And that's it for this version, and of course some bug fixes, update of some libraries, and in the application framework also a lot of bug fix and improvements. And now let's go to the latest release as of October 2024. So we had a problem with the directory table. So if I were, so let me show you what was the problem. If I had like one file selected here, and I was changing here to go to some disk and clicking cancel or OK, then it would go back to the last selection, which was on the table on the left part, instead of going to the one that you've just selected because of the toolbar. Image viewer, so let me show it to you. So you see you have a footer over there, and there was some errors in the footer. I can zoom back, and so there was some errors in it, so this one is fixed. The applet runner, so the applet runner is a special kind of panel, so I can let me show it to you. Applet runner, here won't load because there's no applet, so test, do not put a location. Okay, so let me have this applet maybe in the cache. Let me go here, yes. So this applet is loaded. Now there's many bug fixes for it. And the way what's detecting. Now if you have another what's called Java Swing application, it's easier to start it as applet. And also a better integration with Java FX application. So you have now Java FX applet and a scene applet. So you can include your Java FX application also inside on Commander Pro. Yes, this one is only available in on Commander Pro. So detection also of the code base was sometimes incorrect. Sometimes also in the logging are improved. if you have problem starting your own applet, then you can add a parameter which is applet runner debug to true, and then you'll see more info in the logs. So here in the logs are over there. If there's a local file, I check that the file exists, and then I show a warning if one of the file is missing. Now also JavaScript, Netscape.javascript package, things like JS object are now also included in the class path, and the stop button also was some problems, and now you see stop button is fixed. Some action, let me go back here. Yeah, so sometimes you have, for example, if I create a new file or if I change the size of the file or something, then I need also to be able to write on in the directory. So now also check that it's also possible before enabling the action. So can I maybe show it to you? So if I go in a zip file, so zip files are only read-only files. So for example, I cannot change the size of it. So you see I cannot move it, I cannot delete it, and so on. So see I cannot rename the file. So it's way better to disable the actions that are not possible, because in this case I'm in a zip file system. And sometimes some file action was actually also disabled incorrectly. So after you switch some panels, so after you was going there, then it should also be correctly re-enabled and so on. Also same thing when I was viewing a file. So for example, if I view a text files, and also there was some files action that should have been enabled but was still disabled, and this one has been fixed. If I open a shell, for example, here I'm in a zip file, and if I do a start shell, then it will just go to the parent directory, because you cannot open in the zip file, but it will detect the parent directory and open to this parent directory. And before I was just going to the user home directory. Reload is now also working inside jar and tar files. Before it was mostly only working in zip files. So now when you hit reload and the file has changed, it will also show you the new files. Moving directories, yeah, there was a problem when moving files, and especially when you are moving directories, because it's more efficient to move a directories and to move each file within this directory. So that was what the oncommander was doing, and basically then it was still trying to move the file, but because the parent directory was already moved, then the source file was not existing anymore and was showing basically file with size 0 and no dates, and asking you, do you want to overwrite it? And now this is fixed, so now it's also detects that it has moved the file within the directory. So when you select so if you select directories and files, and it will detect from, oh yeah, but I already moved this file within this directory, so I don't need to show that there's a conflict of moving a file. And that's it for end commander changes in the last releases. So as I mentioned, just go to oncommander.com and you can download it. You have different ways to do it. You have portable for Windows, Homebrew, Debian files, or if you already have Java installed, you can just download the Java files, the jar files. And thank you for watching, and see you at the coming next release. Bye.